What is up, everybody? Welcome to the first installment of the three-part Euro 2024 preview series here on Touchline Talk. Thank you so much for tuning in. As always, be sure to hit that subscribe button so you don't miss any of the content going up on the channel. This first part here is a group-by-group breakdown, just kind of giving a brief overview of every team and what to be paying attention to. So, starting in Group A, obviously, you have your hosts Germany, Hungary, Scotland, and Switzerland. For Germany, I'm going to get into this more as the tournament gets going, but what I'm looking at, the storyline here for me is Julian Nagelsmann has made so much progress, has done so much good since taking this team over, and he's continuing to stick with that, to stick with those players and the ideas and the structure that has gotten Germany into such a good place heading into this tournament on home soil. Can they keep that going? Does it end up paying dividends? Second team here, Hungary. Not too many big names that your maybe even casual soccer fans will know. Definitely the underdog of this group. The one name, though, the guy, is Dominic Szoboszlai from Liverpool. He gets to take a starring role here, typically playing higher up the field, getting more involved in the attack. Obviously, he's a kind of a box-to-box midfielder for Liverpool, but he is the focal point for Hungary, so that is the name to know there. Scotland, it's about the midfield. Scott McTominay, who always seems to deliver for his country. John McGinn, who's been so good for Aston Villa. Andy Robertson at left back or left wing back. The question marks are up top with the strikers. Can they score enough goals? And simply, can this team win a game in a major tournament? They haven't done that since the 1990 World Cup. And then finally, you've got Switzerland. And this is one of those teams you just never want to see in a major tournament. You go look at their squad. It is a bunch of guys who have been there time and time again, who have had plenty of success at major tournaments, World Cups, Euros. They've been doing this for a decade plus. It's the same group, super, super experienced. Not the top end talent that's going to scare you, but still some really talented players and a group that just knows how to succeed and how to navigate these tournaments. Group B, that is Albania, Croatia, Italy, and Spain. For Albania, another team at the bottom of the pure talent rankings for this tournament. Your biggest name is probably Armando Broja, formerly of Chelsea, spent some time at Fulham. A guy with Premier League experience. He gets to play a big role for this team. And then you also have some Serie A representation. So there are some players who play in top 5 leagues in Europe here for Albania. Certainly the underdogs in this group, because the other 3 teams in this group, that's the best trio hands down. When you're talking about Croatia, Italy, and Spain. Croatia, the midfield is still there. This team makes deep runs in major tournaments. Came close to winning a World Cup, It's Luka Modric, it's Mateo Kovacic, it's Marcelo Brozovic in that midfield. The depth behind those 3 in the midfield. Do they have one more run in them? Italy. Interesting team, definitely in transition. The names are not the ones of years past. This is not the same group that won the last Euros. You're talking about a Federico Chiesa, Nico Barella, Alessandro Bastoni, guys who have played and been key players for the best teams in Serie A. Plenty of Inter Milan, AC Milan guys who were in deep Champions League runs, not this season but last season. It just doesn't scare you the same way. You're not looking at kind of these legendary figures in defense and in net that you've had in years past. So very curious to see how Italy does, and then Spain. Everybody's going to talk about all the young Barcelona players, Lamine Yamal. Obviously, there's plenty of excitement there, plenty of potential, and just incredible talent. The point I want to make very quickly here is also don't sleep on the veterans of this team. Rodri is the best holding midfielder in the world. and Manchester City's most important player. Alejandro Grimaldo is coming off of a phenomenal, historic season with Bayer Leverkusen. He was great in the Champions League before going to Leverkusen. He's a really, really, really good player. Danny Carvajal just scored the game winner in the Champions League final and was arguably the best player on the field in that game. You still got Aymeric Laporte as well. There are some really high profile established players here that maybe aren't the biggest names in terms of recognition. This isn't, Ronaldo and Messi and Mbappe and those kind of guys, but there's a nice combination here of top end experienced talent and that next generation that is awfully exciting for Spain. Group C, Denmark, England, Serbia, Slovenia. For Denmark, another team with a group of guys who have been there before, been through a lot, obviously. You recognize some of the names. The point I want to make here, though, is, to me, Rasmus Højlund is the X factor. If he can have a really good tournament, Denmark have a chance to make some noise. But I'm to the point where I can't trust, because I really have been high on this group in past tournaments. I just can't trust the old guard to get to a quarterfinal, get to a semifinal, if Højlund isn't the one leading the line and scoring the goals. England. Plenty of time to talk about all of the angles to England. The point I'm going to make and the thing I'm going to focus on here is you got to give Gareth Southgate credit for being willing to turn the page and try something new. Obviously, most of these guys have been around for a while, but there's no Marcus Rashford, no Jadon Sancho, no Jordan Henderson. Southgate's gotten a lot of criticism for kind of continuing to go back to the same players, continuing to do the same thing, and not evolving, not kind of taking the next step. From a style of play standpoint, we'll see what this looks like. But from a squad selection standpoint, he is going with the informed players. He is going with the players who have earned the spot on this team based on their performances this season. We're going to see how it pays off, but he's not holding on to his past team. Raheem Sterling, you could throw in that group too. He's not just throwing guys in here because they've been here forever. He is making guys earn their spots on this team. Serbia. This is another one of those teams that I'm always sneaky high on in terms of you just don't think of kind of some of the talent that's here. We're still talking about Sergei Milinkovic-Savic, Alexander Mitrovic, Dusan Vlahovic, Dusan Tadic, Luka Jovic. Maybe not quite at the peak of their powers, as obviously most of these players are on the back end of their careers now, or in Milinkovic-Savic's case, not in the European setup anymore, so you're not seeing him in the Champions League, things like that. But it's still a really good starting point to have that kind of talent to work with and that kind of experience. So never discount Serbia. And then Slovenia, a squad probably not too familiar with, not too many big names in there, but they do have two. Jan Oblak in goal, who has been at Real Atletico Madrid for forever, one of the better goalkeepers of the last decade. And then Benjamin Sesko. And Benjamin Sesko, if Benjamin Sesko has a good tournament, is going to become one of the most sought-after commodities in this summer transfer window. He's probably going to leave anyway. But think Cody Gakpo, what he did for the Netherlands in the World Cup, and all of a sudden, everybody was trying to sign him, and Liverpool snatched him up. We could be getting to that point with Benjamin Sesko as well. So he is a name to keep an eye on for Slovenia. Group D. That is Austria, France, the Netherlands, and Poland. Austria, you've got a very strong collection of Bundesliga players here. So high level, playing at one of the best leagues in Europe, all kinds of different clubs. And it's led by a midfield duo in Konrad Laimer and Marcel Sabitzer. Konrad Laimer, important player for Bayern Munich. Marcel Sabitzer just started the Champions League final. You could do a lot worse than building your team around those two guys. France, of course, maybe the most talented team in the world. You got all the attacking talent. How does this all kind of work with Olivier Giroud and Antoine Griezmann and Mbappe? How do those pieces fit? Can they keep the distractions away. It's been an issue the past couple tournaments. Well, not necessarily the World Cup, but before that, they seem to figure something out again at the World Cup. Does that continue? But my goodness, that defense. That is the other thing that needs to be noticed here is William Saliba adds a different element to this team. And if they win, to me, he's going to be one of the big reasons why. Because he was not the established, maybe best center back in the world that he is right now. But you see what he means to Arsenal. He means the exact same kind of thing to this France team because he's that good. Speaking of defense, here are some of the options the Netherlands have to choose from. Nathan Ake, Virgil van Dijk, Matthias de Ligt, Mickey van de Ven. That's your center back options. And then Denzel Dumfries, who, just played in the Champions League final, and Jeremy Frimpong, who just had a historic season with Bayer Leverkusen and is one of the best wingbacks in the world. I mean, my goodness. I don't know how you fit all of these guys on the field. I don't think you do. I think that's the answer. But this is the best collection of a specific part of the field. It might be the best collection in this entire tournament. There's some other options we're going to get to here, but awfully impressive defensive squad for the Netherlands. And then Poland. Interestingly, a lot of former Major League Soccer players. So if you're an MLS fan, you will definitely recognize some names on this team. And then, of course, Robert Lewandowski. Perhaps the last opportunity at a major tournament. Does he have one kind of remarkable month in him or a couple weeks where he sort of single-handedly carries Poland? That's a really tough group. Pretty balanced. France and Netherlands are definitely your two favorites, but you could see any four of those teams finding a way to at least finish third and get to the knockout stage. So certainly no easy task for anybody in Group D. Group E. Belgium, Romania, Slovakia, Ukraine. Belgium, of course, you know some of the names. Kevin De Bruyne, etc. Any team to me with Kevin De Bruyne has at least a chance to make some noise. Maybe not win the whole thing, but to beat anybody on any given day. If they get to the knockout stage, they are inherently dangerous because they have Kevin De Bruyne. What I want to talk about here, though, is actually three other players that are the transition point and the future of Belgium moving forward. You saw what Jeremy Doku could do that this season when he moved to Manchester City. He is so dangerous 1v1. He causes so many issues, so direct, and just puts an incredible amount of pressure on a defense. That's a really helpful thing to have. And Lois Openda, not this season, but last season, was scoring goals for fun in Ligue 1. Really talented player. Can he really make a name for himself here? And then Leandro Trossard from Arsenal. You can go back to my video, my thoughts when they signed him. I don't know why people were questioning this so much. He was an established, very good Premier League player, and what do you know? He becomes an important part of Arsenal taking Manchester City all the way to the wire in the Premier League, earns a starting spot by the end of the season. He's here too. And so these are the kind of guys that are really establishing themselves at really high-level clubs in Europe, Champions League experience, all of that kind of stuff. And now you have some reinforcements to help the remainder of that golden generation from Belgium. Is it enough ultimately? Probably not. But there is still a lot to like about this team and some of the individual talent there. Romania, another team, not too many notable names from Europe, top 5 European leagues. You've got some from Serie A. You've got some from La Liga. You've got a couple guys, Parma just got promoted from Serie B. There were some Romanians who helped make that happen. You do have Radu Dragusin, though, from Tottenham. Got a little bit of playing time as a center back with all the injuries. He is here for this team as well. And then Slovakia. A trio here, Martin Dubravka, Milan Skriniar, Stanislav Lobaka. Skriniar and Lobaka in particular have played at the very highest level. Serie A winner, Champions Leagues, all of that kind of stuff. Dubravka, been around the Premier League for a while, very experienced goalkeeper. So there is something to build around there for Slovakia. And then you got Ukraine. You saw what Andrew Lunin could do for Real Madrid in goal this season when he was called upon. Didn't get the start in the Champions League final, but was a big reason why they got there in the first place. Then you got your Premier League guys, Vitaly Mykolenko from Everton, Alexander Zinchenko from Arsenal, and Mikhail Mudryk from Chelsea. This team, to me, always is a little bit underrated in terms of the raw talent that they have. It's a very good team. It's going to come down to Zinchenko and Mudryk for me. Zinchenko gets to play higher up the field as a more of a midfielder, kind of facilitating and being the creative spark for this team, as opposed to where he primarily plays as a left back for Arsenal. And Mikhail Mudryk, he's got to be your goal scorer, your main attacking threat. Those two guys are good enough to do some damage here if things go their way. And this is a group, if you're Belgium, incredibly fortunate. You don't look at any of these teams and they really scare you. Belgium should have no problem getting out of this group. Whereas you look at some of the other ones, and there are 3 teams that certainly feel like they should be in the knockout stage. Also, Ukraine. I feel like this is a really good setup for Ukraine to be able to finish second. But overall, to me, this is clearly the weakest group. And also, there's just not that much between those other 3 teams. So we're going to see how this goes in Group E. And then finally, Group F. Czech Republic, Georgia, Portugal, Turkey. Czech Republic, you've got a squad mostly made up of domestic league players, and then your West Ham duo, Thomas Souček, Vladimir Koufal, who have been around in the Premier League for a while now, get their opportunity to go represent their national team here. And obviously, Czech Republic has some good teams in there at the top of the league. That's pretty much what this group is comprised of. Georgia. Very difficult team. They always seem to really give even the best teams in the world trouble. Got to give them all the credit in the world for what they have been able to do to kind of establish themselves as a team that needs to be taken seriously and is no pushover in, just UEFA qualifying and then obviously being able to actually get to major tournaments like this one. This is about Khvicha Kvaratskhelia. He is the man. Not necessarily the star he was 12 months ago with Napoli winning Serie A and him being a key part of that. This season wasn't quite as special for Napoli, obviously, but you know what this guy can do. He is the man when it comes to Georgia. If they're going to do anything in this tournament, he's going to be the reason why. Portugal. Going to save some thoughts about Portugal for the other 2 videos in this series. But what I will say here, this might be the hardest decision to make in terms of who starts in your attacking positions. And by that, I mean midfield and forwards. Can make a case for England, but just think about how many different options there are here. To me, Rafael Leao is one of the 3 best pure wingers in the world. You take out Vinicius, you take out Kylian Mbappe, he's right there in that conversation. And maybe if you want to say Phil Foden is 3, if you want to count him as a winger, I count him as a 10. But after the obvious, Ballon d'Or favorite guys this season, Leao is right there for me. He might not start for this team. There are too many pieces that have to fit together because that's how many options. And then you get to the midfield and you've got Vitinha and you've got Bruno Fernandes and you've got, how does João Felix factor into this? So many attacking options here. And then also a very, very good defensive midfielder in João Palhinha. I mean, this team is the attacking half of the field absolutely loaded. The questions come on the other side of the field. Can they defend enough to give themselves a chance to not just get to a quarterfinal, a semifinal, but actually put together enough consistent performances to win this tournament? Because that is you can't just keep winning 3-2, 4-3. Can they get a shutout when they need it? Can they hold on to a 2-1 lead in the second half, things like that are going to determine how far Portugal go, and then Turkey. You've got some guys with Premier League experience. You've got Hakan Çalhanoğlu, who is your focal point, your creative force, the best player on this team. Arda Güler, also another one of these Spanish. Of course, he's playing for Turkey, but in the exciting young talents in Spain category, the Real Madrid side of that, not the Barcelona side, but a name to know, a very exciting up and coming player that will get to shine for Turkey. So that is a breakdown of all of the Euro 2024 groups. As I said, 2 more videos will be coming in this series, so be on the lookout for those. Thank you so much for tuning in. As always, be sure to hit that subscribe button, and I'll see you next time.